Afternoon, everyone. Today I am going to discuss about convex set continued as a continuation of last class. Last class we discussed a detail about convex set or convexity of a set. Here, what we will do that depend upon different type of convex set. We will define different optimization problem. So once we are having suppose a polyhedral, then with respect to polyhedral we can define linear optimization. If you are having a cone, then with respect to that cone as a convex set, we can define a semi-definite or conic program over that. So it what does it give in this approach? In this approach, it says that if you know much about pattern of a convex set, then based on that, the problem defined over it, it is easy to find the solution. And here, what we observe that convex optimization is very large class of optimization problem where it covers a variety of problems. Like simplest one is the linear program, and linear program is having a well-defined theory. If you go little bit complicated, that if you want to take a quadratic objective function, then that program become we are calling it quadratic program. And further, if you put nonlinear constant like quadratic constant over the constant, then we are getting a optimization problem with quadratic constant. Now, further, if you put conic condition over the feasibility set, then we are getting a second order cone. And in similar fashion, we are getting a semi-definite problem. So each class of problem having different type of solution technique. Now, if you talk about why we are studying convex optimization in detail, because there it is very much certain that if you are having a convex optimization problem, then definitely it will have a unique global minimum, a unique global solution. So to find the global solution of a convex optimization problem, there are variety of techniques, or there are variety of optimization algorithm. So whichever would be best suited, we have to apply on that problem. So in order to apply a suitable optimization algorithm or a optimization program, we need to know a detail about corresponding optimization problem. That's first I will discuss about convex set to optimization problem. Then in later part of this course, I will discuss in detail about algorithmic approach, how to handle a optimization problem. Now coming to outline of my today's course, these are the following outline. First, I would like to discuss about polyhedral and the corresponding optimization problem defined over a polyhedral, that we call it a linear program. Similarly, we will go to define a convex cone. Over a convex cone, we can define a conic program. And further, what would be possible technique to solve a conic program over a convex cone? Then I will come to define here norm balls and the corresponding norm cones. And at the last, if time permits, then I will go to discuss about Euclidean balls and ellipsoidal. Ellipsoidal approach is what it is, giving an alternative technique to solve a conic program, and a very generalized one. Now, if you're coming to polyhedral and linear program, then first we need to talk variety of polyhedral set existing in convex set as a convex set. Small, almost every polyhedral set happens to be a convex set. So first one is polytope. Polytope. What is polytope? Polytope it is a bounded uh, polyhedral, and there is due to that pattern, you can say that by intersecting the uh, several a finite number of half spaces, you are getting a polyhedral, a bounded polyhedral structure. And there is a well definition of a polytope is that you can call it. It is a convex hull of a finite number of point. Like here I have taken example. Suppose you are having this inequality. So with the help of this inequality, after intersecting all these half spaces, you are getting this bounded half space, bounded polytope, a bounded polyhedral. So this polyhedral, it is a bounded, so that's why we can name it polytope. Now we try to look from another perspective as a convex hull of finite number of points. We can see that here there are finite number of extreme points. So we call it, it is x. So this extreme point is x1 is the first extreme point. This one is the second extreme point. we name it x2. This is the third extreme point. We call it x3. In the similar fashion, this extreme point is x4 and this one is x5. So we can say that this bounded polytope having another definition, we can say that it is a convex hull of the 5 points. So we are having 5 points x1, x2, x3, x4, x5. So make a convex hull of this finite number of points and you are getting a polytope, a bounded structure that we call it polytope. So I had already mentioned that how can we find a convex hull. So operation is CONV. We denote notation is CO. Notation for convex hull is CONV over the given set. So we got a convex hull of a finite number of points. Uh, uh, Among the polytope, simplest one is the simplex. Simplex is more specific than a uh, polytope. How it is talking about one important kind of independency, that it is talking about affinely independent point. So convex hull of affinely independent point, we are calling it. It is a polytope, but due to affinely independent nature, we call it simplex. And suppose we are having k plus 1 points from x1 to xk plus 1, then we will call it all these are affine independent if we consider one of those points as a reference point, and we define position vector of other point with respect to reference point. In that perspective, we will get k number of points, and if we observe that this k number of position vector happens to be linearly independent, then corresponding k plus 1 vector will be affinely independent. Suppose we come in try to see in 2D, or try to visualize a finally independent nature in 2D. If you take any 3 point in uh, 2D, one we are calling it x1, another one is x2, and third point we are taking it x3. So we have taken 3 points from R2, and we are considering here x1 as a position, a reference. So as a reference point, and with respect to x1 we are defining position vector of x2 and x3. So in that perspective we are having two vector position at x1, and these two vector happen to be linearly independent to each other. So that's why if you take any three non-linearly points in R2, then that would define a collection of affinely independent points, and the corresponding convex hull of these points, it will give a simplex structure of these point. So this is the corresponding simplex structure defined by and the given number of points. This example I have already elaborated here. And another example, if you take 5 points from R2, then because there are 5 points, and due to extra number of points, it is a polytope, but it is not a simplex. Because if you consider x1 is the reference point, and rest of point can be defined can have a position vector like this way, then how many position vector we will observe with respect to reference point x1? We will have here four number of position vector. So due to that exceeding number of position vector in R2, we say definitely this position vector will be no more linearly independent. That means a linear dependency is coming here. So so these points are no more finally independent. So the corresponding polytope, we are just calling it, it is a polytope, it is not a simplex. So you might have already understood that what is the difference between polytope and what is the difference between simplex. What is simplex and non-simplex? So a polytope can be categorized into part. One is simplex part, another one is non-simplex part. It is in the second example. It is not a simplex. Now we are going forward. You would like to define linear program. So what is linear program? It is all about optimizing a linear function over a polyhedral. So suppose we are having a linear function and it is satisfying these constraints. So if you try to look over this geometrical interpretation of this concept, this constant, then this it will give a uh, polytope structure, bounded, that means bounded polyhedral. And we also call it, in term of optimization, it is a feasible set. So our feasible set is, it is a polytope, and our objective function is a linear function. It is defined over a polytope. So that's where this problem is, optimization problem is in a linear program. So easily from the graphical representation we can observe it here. So it is our feasible set. It is having a polyhedral nature, and the function contour of the function is drawn. It is already drawn here. And if you want to see the problem from optimization perspective, then here what we observe here, the function is, we need to minimize it. So in order to minimize, we have to proceed in negative direction of the gradient. What is the gradient of this function? Gradient, it is a linear function, so easily we can find the gradient of this one. Gradient of this function, linear function, is what? It is a vector having first coordinate 1 and second coordinate -3. So we got the uh, normal direction, and also we have to we got the direction of gradient. So we have to minimize the function. In order to minimize, we have to proceed in negative direction of gradient. So negative direction is this one. So if we keep on moving, then where we will get optimum value or minimum value of the objective function over this polytope, given polytope. So we will get minimum value throughout this line. So there are infinitely many solutions for this problem. So there are certain criteria under which you will get unique solution, and there are certain criteria under which you will get unique solution, and there are certain criteria under which you will get no solution. So no solution itself is a solution. We will discuss those things, depends upon different variety of problems. So now I am coming to discuss about second concept of today's lecture. That one is convex cone and the corresponding conic program. So first I need to recall the definition of cone and convex hull, conic hull. So suppose we are having a set from Rn, uh, we will call it a cone if for any x from C, if we take a non-negative scalar multiple of that x, and again it happens to be in C, then we call C is a cone. That means suppose we are taking one vector x from C, and we do non-negative linear combination of this. Non-negative, that means we multiply x with non-negative number lambda. Here lambda is greater than equal to 0. Non-negative means greater than equal to 0. So what we observe that, so in that perspective, for every vector x, we are getting a ray. A ray means it is having a initial point, but terminal point is just keep on forwarding towards in the direction of x. So from this definition, we can observe that a cone is always having infinite structure. That means it is not bounded. So a cone is a bounded structure. So one example here also I have already taken. Suppose we are taking two vector in 2D. One is 0, 1. Another one is 1, -1. So what we observe that, so we are getting a cone structure. So this is our desired cone structure. It is a cone with two extreme direction. One direction is along 0, 1, another direction is along 1, -1. So what we do now, next we are going to define about convex hull and conic hull here. So what is conic hull? Conic hull, it is just a conic combination of given points. So we are having 2 points. So we do all possible conic combination of the given points. So in that process, we are getting a conic convex cone. So this is the desired convex cone. We got it due to conic combination of given point 0, 1 and 1, -1. So this conic combination of all possible conic combination, we are calling it a convex hull of the given vector. So this is uh, conic hull of given vector, or we can call it a convex conic hull of the given point, or we can call it simple name is convex. Convex cone is more suitable word, because later I have taken one more example. There I will discuss to transform a convex hull into polyhedral cone. Convex cone into polyhedral cone. Polyhedral means you always deal with system linear inequality or equality. Now uh, I had already mentioned that conical, it happens to be a conic combination of given number of points. And if you want to see the algebraic definition of a conic combination, you can see this one. That means it is talking about a non-negative linear combination of the given points x1 up to xk. And if we suppose we are having finite number of points, so what we do? First, we will find extreme points. So these point and this point, both these points are extreme points. So what we do? We find a ray passing through those points by finding non-negative linear combination of that point. So first we do that non-negative linear combination of these two extreme points. After that, what we do, or we are considering every other conic combination. So in that process, we are getting a convex hull of these given points. So it is a convex hull. Sorry, it is a conic hull. Or once you do a all possible conic combination, and once you got convex hull, you can name it a convex cone. Hmm. So it is more suitable name. Now we are taking another set. This set you can see it here. It is a non-convex set. If you are having non-convex set, what we do? We find a support over that set with respect to origin. So we are trying to find a support to that function that is passing through origin as well. So we got in that process we are getting two support. So now two support we will consider these as a extreme direction, and based on that we can find all possible conic combination, and in resultant is what? It is a cone. So we are getting a cone structure. So it is a convex cone, another convex cone. So you can say that convex cone and conic hull both are same. But remember that whatever name we will take, definitely there would be meaning. So, if someone is mentioning one name, then try to define things from that nomenclature perspective. So now I'm coming to define about polyhedral cone. So what is polyhedral cone? Say polyhedral cone. If you want to define algebraically, then algebraically we can say that it is a collection of vector which satisfy this linear inequality, system of linear inequality. That is, there are more than one inequalities, and we will see that this polyhedral cone, it is equivalent to, it is equal. Say you are talking about conic combination of a given set of vectors. So both are equal to each other. So to justify that equality, I have taken one example here. Suppose we are taking a convex hull of two given vector 0, 1 and 1 minus 1. Same last example. So if you define conic combination, what we do? We are taking a non-negative linear combination of 0, 1 and 1, 2, where the coefficient lambda 1 and lambda 2 happens to be greater than or equal to 0. And if you solve this system, then after solving, you will come across that the same convex hull of these 2 points, it can be written as a mm, polyhedral cone. And similarly, if you are having a polyhedral cone, you can revert back it to conic combination. So both thing is possible. So it is related to each other, or you can observe one equivalency between these two. So one that graph I have already plotted here. So graph it is just a very general geometric perspective of writing convexal of any given set of points. But if you want to write algebraically, either you can write in this form. This if you are writing in this form, then we will name this cone as a polyhedral cone. If you are writing in this form, then we will call it conic hull or convex cone. So both are giving same representation of or dual representation of the same thing. Discuss about positive semi-definite cone. So in order to understand positive semi-definite, we need to understand positive semi-definite matrices. So what is that? So there is a very famous and celebrated theorem from the linear algebra that we are calling it spectral decomposition. So first I would like to recall spectral decomposition. It is talking about if you are taking a positive semi-definite matrix which is symmetric as well, n by n symmetric matrix, then there exists an orthogonal matrix that is coming from eigenvector of the matrix A and one diagonal matrix lambda that one is having diagonal entries as eigenvalue of the corresponding given matrix A. So if you are having such a kind of thing, then what we do, we can decompose the uh, positive semi-definite matrix as a form of V times lambda times V transpose. V transpose, here what we know that V is a orthogonal matrix. So due to that, if every orthogonal matrix satisfies this condition, if that means inverse of V is just V transpose. If you multiply V with the transpose of V, then we are getting identity matrix. So we can say that V transpose is an inverse of orthogonal matrix V. So here matrix A, it may look very complicated, but once we are decomposing the matrix A into in this form, orthogonal times diagonal times orthogonal, then we see very interesting kind of structure. We can easily visualize average. That means we can the right hand side can easily characterize every property of A. And here we know that orthogonal is what it is talking about, just rotation. So rotational kind of transformation. And what is diagonal matrix? It is just talking about a stretching kind of things. And further, V transpose is again a orthogonal matrix. So again, it will talk about rotational kind of things. So rotation, stretching, and uh, rotation further. So in order to whatever, if suppose we are taking one vector x and we are operating a upon a, and we want to see what would be resultant, so we don't need to apply a directly. What we do, first we need to apply v transpose. That means we are applying orthogonal kind of operation over x. After that we do a stretching with the help of lambda, and after that further we do rotation in order to get the output of uh, x. So this we will get y. So this output y we can write it here directly. It is so once this operation, it looks easy because it is having a very interesting kind of geometry and that we can easily visualize. So that's way I had taken one example of a symmetric and positive definite matrix having entries first as a first row it is having 4 2 and second row is 2 7. So it is a symmetric. So what we do, so using algebraic technique, that means concept from linear algebra, in order to get eigenvalue and eigenvector. After solving that eigenvalue, first eigenvalue we are getting it 8 and second eigenvalue is 3. With respect to first eigenvalue, we are getting first eigenvector 1 by root 5 and 1 2 by root 5, and with respect to eigenvalue 3 we are getting second eigenvector, that one is 2 by root 2 and minus 1 by root 5. So these are the eigenvector which are orthogonal in nature, and we know that if a symmetric matrix is having distinct eigen value, then corresponding eigenvector definitely it would be orthogonal to each other. So due to that, it looks very easy, and easily we can get matrix V and matrix lambda. And so that with the help of matrix V and lambda, we can decompose the given matrix A into in these three matrix. And from here, the calculation looks very easy because of orthogonality and diagonal matrix. So it is all about a spectral decomposition of a positive, definite, and symmetric matrix. Once we have that idea of positive, definite, symmetric matrix, now I am going to discuss here positive semi-definite cone. So in order to consider that positive semi-definite cone, what we do, we have to recall few collection of matrices from definite class. The first, in order to do that, first we have to here consider collection of all n by n symmetric matrix, and that class we denote it by Sn. Sn is a collection of all n by n symmetric matrix. Now, once we have already defined class of all symmetric n by n symmetric matrix, then we are going to define class of all positive semi-definite matrix. That means it is a symmetric matrix which satisfy positive definite criteria. So if you want to look into positive definite criteria, what you do, there is a corresponding definition in algebra that a matrix is said to be positive definite if you able to define corresponding quadratic form, and quadratic form happens to be always non-negative for every x, then in that case, then we say that the corresponding matrix P is a positive definite matrix. For every x, we observe that this quadratic form is always greater than or equal to 0. Then we say that the corresponding matrix P is a positive semi-definite matrix. So this is the definition of positive semi-definite with the help of quadratic form, corresponding quadratic form. Similarly, once we are defining class of all positive semi-definite matrices, then among the positive semi-definite matrices, we have to take out positive definite matrices. It is uh, more stronger than positive semi-definite. So what is definition of positive semi-definite? A matrix is said to be positive semi-definite if corresponding quadratic form, that means x transpose px, it is always greater than 0 for any non-zero vector x. For any, remember that, for any non-zero vector x, and the quadratic form is 0 only for the zero vector. So if you are taking any non-zero vector and you are defining quadratic form, and if you find that the corresponding quadratic form is always greater than 0, it means that your given matrix is a positive definite matrix. So it is much stronger property than positive semi-definite matrix. Okay, so we had already defined some class of symmetric matrix, class of positive definite matrix, and class of positive semi-definite matrix. Now I am coming to define about class of positive semi-definite convex cone. It is actually defined in term of positive semi-definite matrices. Class of positive semi-definite matrices. And if you want to look into proof of this one, there is algebraic proof. You can do this general definition of convex set, and by applying that, definitely you will come to know that the class of all positive semi-definite matrix satisfy the criteria of being a convex set. So the class of all positive semi-definite matrix, it is a convex cone. And definition is already written here. One test is already written here. You can look into that. But I want to elaborate that because that one is part of linear algebra, and easily you can establish that proof. So I am coming to discuss one example here. So I have taken one 2 by 2 matrix. So if you 2 by 2 matrix of from class of positive semi-definite matrix. So if I ask as a vector, where does it belongs to? Actually, here, if you try to look in more generic perspective, how many variable you observe there in this positive definite matrix? It is this matrix X having entries X, Y, Y, Z here, and the entries are satisfying this condition. Under this condition, the capital matrix X, it is a positive semi-definite matrix. Under this condition. Now, if you try to look into this matrix example, how many variable you observe here? There are only 3 distinct variable. So you can say that this matrix, positive semi-definite matrix, under this condition, it is an element of R3, 3-dimensional. So you can say that this positive semi-definite matrix, it is a 3-dimensional vector. And also we know that Sn, it is a subspace in R3. It is a very simple, sorry, S2 here, and we have taken 2, so S2. S2, it is a subspace of R3. It is a very simple result from linear algebra. You can establish that, but I want to establish that result it here. What I will do, I will plot the graph of this positive semi-definite cone. So graph of this one, it looks like this one. This is the graph of this one. So from the graph, you can easily observe that it is having cone kind of a structure. So it is, that's why we are calling it, this matrix is defining a positive semi-definite cone. It is very important in case of deriving conic program. Some example I will discuss. So here I have taken some example. So with respect to this matrix, this is the corresponding semi-definite cone. With respect to this matrix, this is the plot, and likewise you can see all other plot. Okay, so in next thing I will discuss in next class.